I've seen way too many people go for the cheap spotting scopes that promise crystal clear images on the box, only to end up squinting at a blurry horizon after the first hunt or boat ride. The regret that follows is real. You've spent money, you've got a scope that can't keep up, and you're left wondering if there was a smarter choice out there. That's why I wanted to dig into the SIG SAUER OSCAR6 HDX PRO before I even considered buying it. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The first question I asked myself was whether the premium price actually translates into a noticeable edge over the budget models that flood the market. When I first unboxed the OSCAR6, the most obvious thing was the straight eyepiece design. It's the kind of layout you usually see on high-end marine scopes, where you never have to worry about eye box distortion when you shift your head position. That alone felt like a practical upgrade over the angled eyepieces you get on cheaper units, because in the field you're often moving around quickly whether you're perched on a tree stand, crouched in a blind, or standing on a deck watching the water. The straight view means you can keep your head steady and still get a clean image, which reduces eye strain after a day of tracking. SIG's claim to fame here is the OmniScan optical image stabilization technology. In theory, that system uses a set of moving lenses to counteract hand shake, letting you hold the scope at arm's length and still see a steady picture. I tried it in 3 very different environments: a windy field in early autumn, a calm lake at sunrise, and a fast-moving vehicle during a wildlife drive. In the windy field, the stabilization kicked in quickly enough that the image stayed smooth even when I had to adjust my stance constantly. On the lake, where there's almost no wind, the difference was subtle but still present. The horizon stayed razor-sharp while my hands trembled a little. The vehicle test was the most telling. The scope managed to keep a decent lock on a moving deer even as the SUV bounced over a gravel road. None of that is magic, you still need a decent grip, but the technology does take the edge off the usual shake that cheap scopes can't handle. The HDX PRO optical system is another selling point. SIG says it's their most advanced glass, and the way the images looked confirmed that it's not just marketing jargon. Colors were richer, especially in low-light situations. I was hunting in dusk conditions and could pick out the subtle difference between a white-tailed deer's coat and the surrounding foliage without straining. In a practical sense, that means you can make more accurate calls earlier in the day, which can be the difference between a clean shot and a missed opportunity. Ergonomics matter a lot when you're out for hours, and the OSCAR6 feels intentionally built for rugged use. The body is coated with a matte, water-resistant finish that didn't show any signs of smearing after a sudden rainstorm. The scope's rubberized grip is wide enough to accommodate both a left-hand and right-handed hold without feeling awkward. The twist-lock focusing mechanism is smooth but firm, so you can dial in focus on a moving target without overshooting. I also appreciated the quick-release mounting system that lets you swap the scope between a tripod and a rifle mount in under a minute, a convenience that's rarely mentioned in spec sheets but shows up in real-world use. Now, no product is perfect, and the OSCAR6 does have a few trade-offs that matter if you're on a tight budget or have specific needs. First, the size and weight. At roughly 3.5 pounds, it's heavier than the ultralight models that some hunters prefer for long treks. Carrying it up a steep hill added a noticeable load, so if you're planning marathon hikes where every ounce counts, you might look at a lighter scope and accept some performance compromise. Second, the price point. The OSCAR6 sits in the premium tier, meaning you're paying a premium for those stabilization and glass upgrades. If you're a casual shooter who only goes out a few times a season, the investment might not be justified compared to a mid-range scope that still delivers decent clarity. Third, the scope's magnification range of 1632 is great for mid-range work, but it can feel limiting if you're targeting very long distances, say, beyond a quarter mile. Some users in the long-range rifle community might prefer a 2060 scope for that extra reach. Who should actually buy the OSCAR6 HDX PRO? If you're a serious hunter, a wildlife photographer, or a marine enthusiast who regularly needs a reliable image in unpredictable conditions, the combination of image stabilization and high-definition glass will likely pay off. The scope shines when you need to track moving subjects in wind, when low light color fidelity is critical, or when you'll be swapping the unit between different platforms, rifle, tripod, boat, and need a consistent visual experience. It's also a solid pick for law enforcement or search and rescue teams that operate in varied environments.